All right, good morning. Welcome to Product Coffee. Hope you're staying dry wherever you are. If you're down here in the Southeast anywhere, you are not, but we're glad you could join us. And we're going to just jump right into it today. We're going to start off with Robert Mezas' piece, When Strategies Hit the Behavior Wall, and Kelly's going to drop a link in the chat for that for us right now. But Robert takes a swing at our favorite fantasy, which is that clear strategy equals changed behavior. Spoiler, it doesn't. He digs into why common tactics like motivation, nudges, or clarity often fall flat and what really drives change. So, as product folks, let's get really honest. Are we expecting users to change just because our roadmap says they should? Or are we actually designing for how behavior works in the wild? Let's meet our first cup panelists this morning. First of all, we've got a guy who dreams of motorcycle tours through Europe, but keeps getting booked for product retrospectives instead. Give it up for Jerry Odenwelder. He's the product coach at C Prime. Hey, Jerry, good morning.
There's a lot of truth in that statement. So much truth in that statement.
And he's battled printer drivers, bombed at stand-up, and still lived to tell the tale. Welcome, Clay Nichols, founder of Bungalow Software. Hey, Clay. And he's allergic to excessive process, unnecessary flights, and bad product advice. Fortunately, he travels well by Zoom. Welcome, Steve Johnson, CEO of Product Growth Leaders. Welcome back, Steve.
Good morning.
And most people panic when the plan changes. She just says recalculating and hikes on. Say hey to Allison Herbert, Senior Product Owner at Milliken & Company. Welcome, Allison.
Good morning.
All right. So you guys all had a chance to take a look at the article, and it went all over the place with some different ideas about behavior and behavioral management and behavior change. But Clay, you've survived plenty of failed installs. Which tactic in this article deserves to be unplugged and reinstalled?
Oh, let's see. I think it was the first one. Let's see. Yes. Behavior change is manipulation.
Yep.
Yeah.
What were some of your takeaways? What were your thoughts on this?
I think the key is if you're surfacing intrinsic motivation, then it's not manipulation. You're just facilitating what they're going to do. And then it's not a problem. So if I'm working out and you dangle carrots in front of me, literally or figuratively, that's not going to motivate me. But if you let me know, hey, that was your PR, that was your personal record on that part of the mountain bike trail, I'm like, wow, I didn't realize I had done that so well. Yeah, surfacing intrinsic things that you already care about.
Helping them do what they would want to do if they realized they wanted to do it.
Or letting them know they did it and they didn't realize they did it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's like your own little cheerleader.
Cool. Thank you. Steve, you've seen more bad strategy than a Bond villain. What part of this article made you yell, "Get off my roadmap"?
I'm going to stick with what Clay had to say. So often it's manipulation. And it's also, I don't know, it seems like I've encountered a lot of situations where an executive read a magazine on an airplane and came back and said, okay, I now see the future. Or we read a book, and of course, most business books say, I did this one time and this is the way everyone should always do it going forward. But there's an old thing we learned in sales, which is what's in it for me.
Yeah.
And so it's, oh shoot, we're going down yet another one. We're going to do agile. We're going to do not agile. We're going to do waterfall again. We're going to do pick it. Oh, we're going to start with why. And I'm sure there are lots of really good ideas in all of these books, but it certainly feels like a manipulation to the people who are being asked to change. Unless, as Clay points out, unless they see, oh, if we did it this way, my life would get better or my work would get better.
Yeah. Would you say that the biggest driver of behavior change is the CEO reading a book?
It certainly is a prevalent, yeah, certainly.
All right. Jerry.
So what you're really saying is we should start taking books away from CEOs, but I don't know if that's quite possible.
No, apparently not. My old CEO back in the day, one of my favorite CEOs, was really a big TED fanatic, and so he had all the TED books coming in and everything. There was no way to stop him from reading, but it worked out pretty well for us for the most part. We did okay.
But while we're at it, there's also so much change theater that goes on. I don't know why I thought of this, but just the other day I was talking to somebody about those ridiculous ropes courses where you go into the woods and there's a facilitator and all the leaders are carrying each other and running whatever bullshit. And I remember so vividly my VP of development saying, I will catch you on this, but tomorrow I will destroy you if the opportunity arises. So it's just like every time I hear about this kind of, as I say, change theater or whatever, I just think of that moment when he was kidding, he wasn't kidding.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Jerry, you have worked with probably a countless number of teams and you've helped a lot of them shift gears. But when you think about this change theater, have you ever seen a behavior change happen without someone first hitting a wall?
I can't think of one. I can't think of one off the top of my head for sure. Everything this article talks about resonated with me. And I don't know if it's because the past 2 years I've been involved with a lot of change initiatives at various organizations, and so many of the things he talked about, I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that one here and here, and I saw this one over here, and this is how this manifested at this place. I believe, Allison, I believe you shared this article originally. Was it you? Yeah. And I went and read it, and I think if this is the one I'm remembering, I actually commented to oh, what's his name? Robert, thank you.
Yeah.
I actually commented on it because it did resonate so much with me. And Clay, as a former tool product manager myself, I'm gonna be a little down on tools, but I'm not down on tools as a general rule. But I do find, and because you and Steve both picked on the first one, which was going to be the one I was going to go with, change equals manipulation. I'm going to go with behavior tools are magic, because I see this all the time. Oh yeah, we're gonna put in insert tool and all the problems are going to go away. And it's no, they're not. All your problems are just going to change.
I think it was laddering up.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't fix all the problems around it, all the other things that you've got in your organization, like it's just going to get worse. It's not going to get better. So I'm
reminded, Jerry, of one of my favorite authors, business authors, is Patrick Lencioni.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book called The Advantage. And my recollection, I don't know if he said this in the book or if this is what I walked away with, but the theme of the book basically was, it really helps if we all work for the same company.
Yeah.
Well, that reminds me of the joke. How many therapists does it take to change a light bulb?
None. The light bulb will change itself.
Only one, but the light bulb has to want to change.
Yeah, there you go. All right. And let's real quickly, jump over to Allison. And Allison, as much of an outdoors person as you are and an adventurer as you are, I got to ask you, which of these behaviors feels more heroic? Getting through a meeting that should have been an email, or not screaming when someone says, quick win?
That is,
I'm just seeing a bingo game.
as an introvert, it's probably the meeting that should have been an email, because my face will not lie. I will lose every time in that party. But I definitely don't like shouting in general, but I would say both of those are really hard to choose. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. I pulled this out. So Jerry and I profess to reading a lot of things and or exploring a lot of things in the world. And so when this came across my desk, I was like, yep, this fully ties into some of the work that I'm doing today, but also just thinking about our community here at Product Coffee. We read Good Strategy, Bad Strategy last year, and the guiding principles and kernel of truth came out in this example that, right, if everybody doesn't understand what's in it for them, how are they going to be able to survive in the system or the new experience of what we're trying to change? You're right. Bang head on wall, run out of room screaming is going to occur, because change is hard and habits are hard to, right? You can't just say, and now we're all doing this. It takes time to learn that, understand how you fit into the overall scheme of the plan. I think the one piece, no nudge can fix that level of system friction. It's just like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. And that, sure, we can get Band-Aids all day, but it's just more Band-Aids. It's not actually fixing the fact that you can't walk on your leg, or what might have irreparable damage by ignoring things like communication, what your partners around the table need to complete the goal. So I think there's some opportunity there.
Could somebody sweep up all this broken glass that we're stepping over to get to the Band-Aids?
Yeah, right.
No, you have to cross that to get to the Band-Aids. That's Yeah, that's the tough part. And change, people are irrational. I regularly say to my team, nobody reads. We don't read. People do not read. Stop
No,
expecting them to read.
Yeah.
Stop expecting them to see that the words on the page tell them how to do the thing. They're still going to call and ask, or they're still going to tell you the thing doesn't work. So what can we do to help them create a space where they know where to look or know how to find that information themselves? And often it's not by putting words on a screen.
I'm convinced it's not. They don't always listen either, Allison. It's
No,
not, it's
that
just
that
reading.
happens.
I'm
It's real
sorry,
bad
what'd
when
you
they
say,
don't read and
Jerry?
they don't listen. Yeah.
Exactly. I was in a meeting yesterday. I said something at the beginning of the meeting. We were looking at some slides. I said something on the very first slide. This is about X, not about Y. The second slide, somebody in the meeting brought up Y. And not WH. The thing that I said, the whole document is not about this thing. They brought that thing up. I'm like, and I flipped back. I'm like, I really wanted this to be about X. So that it's, yeah, they don't read, but they don't listen a lot of times either. And
There's a game.
go ahead.
There's a game show in England called I Just Told You. And they tell them a bunch of stuff. It's from a comedian called Jimmy Carr. You may have seen
I
him.
love Jimmy Carr.
And he tells a bunch of stories, and then he asks questions about the stories. I just told you.
Oh, Jason, that sounds like a great product coffee theme.
It sounds like a terrifying product coffee theme.
No, it's customer discovery, right?
That's true.
You're going to
Yeah.
listen to a story.
Yep.
Jerry, I have a question for you. I'm wondering if, in your experiences working with teams and change, if there is buy-in or open to conversation and communication, do you think that behavior change is more accepted, or is that just another pipe dream?
If there's buy-in, you mean buy-in from the teams that we're
Buy-in, or I'll use my favorite word in the whole wide world, participative input.
That's your favorite word in the entire world.
Only because it's an ongoing joke. It's an ongoing joke, and Jerry
So-
knows.
It's on
It is
Allison's
hyphenated.
It's on Allison's bingo card. She likes to hear it at work because it scores her bingo every time.
Sometimes.
I do feel like if you involve the teams, it makes it easier.
Like
It might-
walking with them and bringing them along rather than just saying,
Yeah.
go do the thing. Now
And
we're
I think
doing
that's
this.
why some of these other things are a problem. Why behavior change equals manipulation, for example, because executives don't want to wait 5 years for the change
Right.
to take effect. They want the change to take effect in 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Instead of trying to bring people along, do it slowly and help people understand and make people want to change, they're trying to just shove it through the organization. And so
Well-
they use these other tactics
And
to try to make it go faster.
And a lot of the
And-
focus of this article, to your point, Jerry, was on organizational behavior change. And that's where a lot of the conversation goes with a lot of behavioral scientists. How do we transform this organization and change cultural behaviors? I also think about it a lot from a product perspective as well. And we had Matt Wallert a couple of years ago now, actually, where we read his book, and it wasn't Start with Why. It was
Start at the end.
Start at the end. Start with Why is Simon Sinek. Start at the End was Matt Wallert's book. And we went really deep into making product and design decisions that could influence user behavior to a certain degree. I find myself wondering a lot, though, especially in light of this conversation. We talk about the nudges to change behavior. That's a popular book as well. How much, when you're thinking of product strategy, how much do you balance between nudging for behavior change versus riding the wave of existing behavior and capturing value from the user's expected behavior versus trying to change their behavior? How important is that balance?
So you're saying meet people where they are and travel with them, not force people to meet you where you are or where you want to be. Yeah.
Put the button where they're going to press as opposed to getting, like, if they expect the button to be in the upper right-hand corner and you want it in the bottom right-hand corner, don't try to encourage them that it's down here. Just put it where they're going to press. Yeah.
Or you better have a damn good reason why it needs to be in the bottom right-hand corner if you're going to try to drive that behavior change.
Yeah.
Way that makes me envision this UI. Okay, so imagine the UI for your product that can track where my eye is, and it moves the call to action button wherever my eye is on the screen.
Hey,
coming.
market that.
It is coming.
Oh, there are definitely some UX people in tears right now.
Oh,
I'm
That
sorry.
exists now, but it's the opposite. The close button moves away from
Moves
where
away.
it moves away from the mouse. You have to catch it.
I have seen that. It
Well-
seems like somebody did that. One of
Yep.
those. Okay.
You know, but
So-
back to the topic, I'm reminded of the concept of the driver and the elephant, and that is you're never going to be able to muscle the elephant to go where you want. You have to make the elephant want to go where you want. You have to give them a path to get there. I forget who that is. I think that's the Heath brothers, probably.
I
Oh,
don't
it's an old
remember that
Buddhist
specific
thing,
one, but it's
yeah.
it's really good visual. So I want to also welcome our audience in the Zoom here with it, and welcome you to participate. If you haven't been to Product Coffee before, we'd love you to jump in. And I specifically want to give a shout out to Catherine and Amanda, who either are logging in from new email addresses or for the first time. So we're glad to have you here. What we're going to do in just a moment is, if you'd like to chime in on this, raise your virtual hand in Zoom. We'll bring you in and join the discussion. And also, we would love you to turn on your camera so that we can give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the Product Coffee community here, get to know us a little bit, tell us who you are, what has your attention right now. And if you want to jump in on the conversation, one of the things that I'm really curious about is, what's a product launch, whether it's professional or personal, that actually changed how you behave? Is there a thing that got you to floss, to plan, to pause before rage clicking? What made it stick? And would love some of your own experience as kind of part of your introduction this morning, if you're willing, if you got something that jumps to mind. Otherwise, just tell us who you are and what's on your mind in general. Today, we are going to be talking about why great ideas die in Slack. And it's really the umbrella for a bigger conversation. And we're going to dig into the idea of framing new products. We're going to introduce a tool that some of you may be familiar with, but I suspect most of you haven't seen before. And I'll tell you more about that in a moment. We're going to be talking about a product brief that will help you frame up product opportunities, ideas in a way that you don't lose them. I'm just going to start by talking about a story. A few years ago, I was working for IBM, and one of the things that we were doing great in our team is we were adopting IBM's brand of design thinking. And the company was really all in on enabling customer interviews, customer visits. You could literally, if you had a customer that was willing to meet with you, you could get on a plane and go. You didn't need extra approvals, except for Q4 when everybody needs extra approvals. But it was really easy to spend time, really deep, meaningful time with customers, and even take a full team in a lot of cases to spend that time. As a result of that, we had a ton of qualitative data coming in, a lot of survey information, a lot of interviews coming in that we could gather insights from. And as you can imagine, when you're really entrenched in a industry space, we were focused on marketing technology, the number of ideas and opportunities to solve for things would just come in like a deluge. And I was talking to Clay, I'll let Clay repeat his quote in a few minutes, but we had no shortage of ideas. The problem was keeping track of them all and getting investment in the right ones. And so many great ideas would get lost in the shuffle. Literally, we talk about getting lost in Slack because that's what would literally happen is somebody would send a Slack message, hey, I saw this problem. Here's one way I think we might be able to solve that problem. And you get a bunch of people really excited. Oh, that's a great idea. We should go do that in 3 or 4 quarters when we get through our current roadmap. And of course, that doesn't work out real well. By the time we got around to it, that idea had lost its momentum. Sometimes they were still relevant. I can remember 3 or 4 different scenarios where a competitor would come out and they would launch something similar 2 quarters later, and they had already been working on it, but we had no story around a real, meaningful, innovative solution to a very real customer problem. So this happens a lot. Either they die quietly or and then the other side of the coin is somebody has what appears to be a great idea. We see a great idea and it doesn't get super well framed, and something gets built, but it doesn't hit the mark. It completely misses the mark because it got built without a good, clear reason. So I want to ask today, just to start the conversation, is why do good ideas stall out or fail to deliver. And I'd love to hear some thoughts on that from the audience. If you've got a thought on why good ideas just don't make it, pop your virtual hand in the air. I can't necessarily see you on camera, but I would love to hear your ideas. You can also drop them in chat if you don't want to speak up out loud. Yeah, I see Russell.
Hand.
Yeah, Russell, I can see your hand. Hey.
Yeah, if you can't execute, people are not going to bring you their next greatest idea. I know that sounds simple, but some companies can't get to the finish line.
Oh, that's a great observation. You can't execute, so why should I bring my great idea to you if I know nothing's going to happen with it?